So it's Monday and we have a real treat for you today. My dad, Jerry Prud'homme, joins me on Market Monday. We talk about effects on the global economy, this slowdown in housing. Should we be spending money advertising ourselves as a tourism place, or should we start diverting that money to affordable housing? Alan Perry stops in. We talk about mortgage. We talk about the impact of inflation. We talk about the Fed and do they have the tools in their toolkit to do something about it this week. Market Monday. So super privileged to have Dad in today. How's it going?
Good, very good.
Good. Thanks for coming in and
Absolutely.
sharing your wealth of expertise and experience on Hilton Head Island. You had a chance to look at the numbers. What's your takeaway?
Well, we're certainly in a transition. I've heard a lot of people saying that the lower priced properties are still selling well, but the higher priced properties are not. So I took a look at June, July, and August of last year, and then compared it to June, July, and August of this year. And the numbers are down across the board. Obviously, there's fewer sales, less inventory than there was last year. But the percentages are almost exactly the same with one exception. Properties priced under $500,000, those are down. Properties priced from $500,000 to $1 million, those are up by the same percentage.
Wow.
Which is telling me that properties just don't exist in that price range anymore. They've moved up into the next price range.
Yeah.
But when you get to the high end, it was 4.5% last year. 4.5% this year. So the downturn is kind of across the board.
Wow, that's super interesting. It's not what the narrative is, right? And that's why to understand this stuff, you need to understand what's happening locally, not nationally.
Well, I mean, there are roughly 17,000 properties that sold in the 2-year period from June of 2020 to June of 2022. You know, what I'm going to define as the COVID period, right? So those 17,000 people, they're out of the market right now.
Yeah.
And they were probably the most motivated people, right? So,
Yeah, that's something that I think of that, we'll talk to Alan Perry about today, but like there has been a significant amount of people that have moved that are in their new house. They've only been in there for less than 2 years, right, and they're in for a great interest rate.
Yeah.
Like what if the Fed raising interest rates just makes those people stay put? And the desired outcome to slow property value increasing, the opposite happens because they create a situation where there's less inventory for the people that are buying, and then that forces prices up. And then what other game do they play? Like they don't have any other bullets except for raising interest rates.
Right, I agree. And a lot of those folks have fixed rate mortgages, so the increase in rates is not going to impact them because they don't have adjustable.
The numbers this week, the big takeaway that I have this week is inventory still low, but second time in a month that the under contracts were less than the new inventory. So that's the number that I'm always looking at. The trend, are we selling the same or more than we're putting on the market?
We say that every market is different. Every market is local. But then if you really drill down and you look at Hilton Head, areas like Hilton Head Plantation where, people are buying a primary home, their inventory has gone up slightly, but the demand is still very, very high.
Yeah.
If you look at a place like Port Royal Plantation, another residential community, no rentals, there's nothing for sale under $1.5 million to speak of.
The discretionary stuff.
Exactly.
Beaufort City Council, they award $320,000 to different groups for tourism. Right. I think everybody knows about this area now, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
At the same time, a general from Marine Corps Air Station is captured in a video basically begging the county to get serious about affordable housing.
Quality and affordable housing continues to be a challenge for Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, and in essence, the entirety of the Tri-Command area. The current housing market, along with its own internal challenges with our own internal challenges with housing on Laurel Bay, has magnified this issue for installation personnel and the people in the local community. So as you know, our military housing is not sufficient to meet our needs. So anything that the state can do to assist in the creation of quality, affordable housing in our local area will have a positive impact on our community, both on and off base.
I don't call it affordable housing. These are essential workers. These are firemen and policemen and teachers, even people that are in the tourism industry. Like they're essential to making our community work for these vacationers. Is there anything more essential than our military personnel?
No question about it. And, I think we could put teachers in that category as well.
Teachers, yes, thanks.
I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I think we have a solution in the sense that there's a lot of land the town has acquired over the years. I think we have probably enough parks, but maybe what we start to do is repurpose some of that property with a public-private partnership and generate some rental properties, and then also some lower price tier properties that folks could purchase.
So the city council gave out $321,000 for tourism advertising. Let's start spending some of that money on our essential workforce and create some opportunities for them. Inflation. Have you heard about inflation? It's up a little out here.
Consumer price index up by 8.2%.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I think that's the highest it's been since 1982. And, we talk about prices for real estate, but if you really look at this, if we're saying that across the board, we know that there's pockets where prices are still going up a little bit. I don't think there's any places where it's going down on Hilton Head. But if inflation is at 8.2% and someone sells their property a year from now and that inflation rate stays the same, they're really losing money. So they're really, in a sense, losing value.
The Fed's playbook does not work in this current economy, right? Like, if I don't want to get political, but if you want to deal with this, let's start with fuel costs.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about an expense that is to you and me in terms of putting fuel in our vehicles, but it's also in the landscapers and getting things delivered, and the cost of milk and the cost of produce, like all that stuff. There's no farms really on Hilton Head that they're growing vegetables and bringing them, that we're buying them. It's all being shipped in, and that's all fuel.
Just doesn't make any sense for us to take the position that we shouldn't do everything we can do to produce fuel here, but the other countries should. I mean, how does that,
and
what
it
sense
doesn't,
does that make?
That's the thing, right? Then all of a sudden we're negotiating from a point where we have no leverage.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't shoot for green initiatives and do all those things. They're really important, but we should be green because it's better, not because it's forced down our throats, and not put in a position where there are people that are financially struggling, and the ones that struggle the most are the ones with the least amount of resources.
Absolutely.
And this is really, really painful for them. And I would argue that it talks about food prices and other prices contributing to the increase in the consumer price index. But I would argue that fuel influences every single one of those things.
I mean, there's no question about it. And it's one of those problems that has a solution. We just need to reopen the spigot.
So we just talked about inflation. Alan Perry's here with Mortgage Network. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And as it relates to inflation, the Fed continues to raise rates to try and temper inflation, to try and stamp it down, knock it out. What's your thoughts?
One of the conversations that's going around is, the Fed's trying to get back down to 2% inflation.
Yep.
Is that realistic? That's the question. So now people are saying, well, do they need to get to 4%? Do they need to change their goals because it's just going up and up and up? And they're going to be they're very aggressive, and they're going to stop it, and they want to make certain that it doesn't get out of control, which it already has.
Yep.
What is it that they're going to do next? Is it 3/4? Is it a point? How many more times? But also, what's the ultimate goal? I think that's probably going to change from a 2% to maybe a 4% number.
One of the things that I've been talking about, Alan, and I'd like to get your opinion on, is they're going after interest rates. They're specifically looking at housing, trying to slow housing down and make it more affordable, right? That's the goal. But what if this precipitous increase in interest rates cause people to just stay put? Can prices go down if people don't sell their house?
Well, that's a great question, great point, because there's no inventory. What happens?
Prices
go up.
Yeah.
And then what happens to rents? Rents go up.
That's my concern, is that in the new economy, right? Economy has changed so much over the last 100 years, right? And when was the Fed created? It was like in the 1920s?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So it was 100 years ago, right? Down in Jekyll Island.
Right.
Is their bag of tricks, which is a single trick in the bag, to raise interest rates, is it ineffective? Or is it just ineffective in this case? And will they tank the entire economy to tank housing?
Well, that's really interesting. It is new, right? So we haven't been through everything yet. And what we've just gone through is an anomaly. So, and of course, we've got a global inflationary issue.
That's right.
So it's not just here. So how do the other aspects play into it? Is just raising rates enough? Is there something else that needs to be done? Great question.
A lot of people made a move in the last 2 years,
That's
right? And they're in their house at really low interest rates, and it's a new house, and they're comfortable there, and all is good, right? And they might trade their house for another house if they could get into the new house for a similar interest rate. But why move at this point?
Well, there's no reason to move. You know, unless you're experiencing a need to downsize or upsize. So you've got a rate that's in the low threes.
Yep.
Most everybody does. You don't want to get rid of that.
Sure.
So what do? Well, maybe it's time to keep that property and rent it out. Go ahead and buy something else at a higher rate. You know, we just date the rates. We don't marry the rate.
Yep.
We marry the house.
Yep.
Rates are going to change. They change every day, sometimes every minute of the day. So what you take out today is not going to be there a year from now because you're going to refinance out of it. But you want to get that house, the house you love, the house you need at today's value.
Yep.
Because it is going to go up. And the rate, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Wait until the rates go back down and just refinance, but ride the wave of prices going up. I don't think prices across the entire country are going to continue to go up, but places that have become more desirable based on work at home have certainly put themselves in a situation like Hilton Head Island, where we're not making any more land.
That's right.
And if there's going to be fewer properties brought on the market because people aren't going to trade up or trade out or trade sideways or trade because they're locked in an interest rate, the few houses that are on the market, those prices are going to get driven up.
That's right. You know, limited inventory, limited land.
Yep.
Not to mention the desire to be here.
Yep.
That's not going away. You know, our environment gives so much, and people just want to be part of that. So you're right. You know, the values are they're going to continually move up. Rentals are going to continually move up. Take advantage and build your wealth now by buying the property. You know, here's what's something to think about is last year we were looking at rates about 3.5%. Beginning of this year, we were in the 4%. 5 months ago, we were at 5%. So now those people that didn't buy back in May when the rates were at 5% are now looking at roughly 7%. So what's it going to be tomorrow? You don't want to look back and go, wish I had done this.
Yeah, sure.
You know? So yes, we're going to see rates continually move up a little bit, but they're going to come back down. When you see a jump this quick in the market, there's a give back. Yep. Right? The timing of that is still yet to be seen.
For sure. It seems like if one thing that you can count on with the Fed, it's to overshoot, right? In both directions.
Well, you know, they did during COVID. They overshot there. They printed a lot of money. And now they've got to get it off their books. And it's, you know, $4 trillion that they printed. It's in the bond market. So there's a lot of correction that needs to take place.
Well, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you. Mailbag question. Cynthia asks, hey, I moved to Port Royal 6 months ago, and my husband and I are struggling to meet new people on the island. What are some ways to make friends or get involved with the community on Hilton Head Island?
Well, I mean, I think for most folks, it's pretty easy because so many of these communities, like Port Royal, Hilton Head Plantation, the residential communities, they have all kinds of clubs. So the first thing I would do is I would look into what organizations exist within those communities. I used to live in Port Royal, live in Hilton Head Plantation now. I know that most of those communities have, new resident welcoming functions. Hilton Head Plantation just had one a couple days ago where they bring people in. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. You just need to explore a little bit, call the POA office, ask them about clubs and other groups, and just get it started.
Sure, and that's in your neighborhood. Outside of your neighborhood, I mean, your church is a great place. Just going to a restaurant at night and sitting at the bar and striking up a conversation, you never know who's going to be next to you, who you're going to meet.
Absolutely.
And there are certain restaurants that have a higher concentration of local people, the ones on the north end of the island and such. So stick with it. It's a great island. It's a very close-knit island, so it can be a little bit intimidating at first to feel like new and an outsider when everybody knows everybody. Yeah. But you'll blink. I'm living proof. You'll blink your eyes and have been here 30 years. Right?
It goes by very quickly.
Right. Thanks for stopping in, Dad.
Okay. Thank you.